You're listening to Edge Radio TV. The views and opinions expressed in this program are that of the host or guests, and not the Edge Radio Network or its advertisers or affiliates.
Good morning, moguls. I pray everyone had a pleasing, restful weekend. I know some of us were still working, but hopefully we got some rest in. So, first of all, we want to say this is the last Monday of International Women's History Month. So, shout out to all the women out there being trailblazers, making it happen for themselves, for their children, their families. We have a special guest today, actually. This is very special. Probably the most special. But thus far, this is actually my sister-in-law, my brother's wife, and sister-in-law, because we're like sisters.
Yep, indeed.
We're not like in-laws, so I guess I'll say just my sister. And I want you to introduce yourself. Guys, welcome, Miss Cicely Boone Mitchell.
Yes. Thank you, Shanika, for allowing me to be on the show and talk with the audience and viewers about Women's History Month and different things that have and people that have influenced me. Mm-hmm. As Shanika mentioned, I am the wife of her brother, Sean Mitchell. We met at Prairie View A&M. It's also appreciate your
eons ago. God,
yes.
Y'all been together forever.
Yeah. We met fall semester my freshman year and started dating spring semester, and we're still together now, getting ready to celebrate our 18-year anniversary and dated 7 years. We have 4 children. One, might as well not even call him a stepchild, Kashar, because I've known him since he was 1. He's 26. We have 17-year-old Sean Michael, who is autistic, and 15-year-old Nicole Jean Mitchell, and Anna Lee Mitchell, 13. So we have been trying to build our life with our family, with our friends for quite some time. Surprisingly enough, I went to an HBCU from Alaska. I'm from Fairbanks, Alaska.
Which everybody's always shocked when I say where my sister-in-law is from. Alaska.
Yep. The Benjamin Banneker Honors College reached out to me when I was in high school at Eielson Air Force Base, and at the time, Prairie View had one of the top engineering programs in the country, and that's what I wanted to be when I grew up. So I am a mechanical engineer by trade with a minor in business management, and I work in oil and gas, which has been a very fulfilling career and improved the quality of life for my family.
Yes. So I definitely can say and I've shared this with various people. You've definitely been an inspiration, and it's just amazing because not too many people are able to do it, to set their goals, but really, really be focused and have a plan of action to climb that corporate ladder like you've done, the boundaries that you've broken, and being a trailblazer in your industry. So share with me and the moguls, what woman would you say influenced you or inspired you the most during your childhood? What woman would you say that would be?
My mother.
Yep.
Lavoria Jean Boone. And in college, your mother. Dear.
So share with us about your mother first. What attributes, growing up looking at her, what did you aspire from her attributes, from her personality, her work ethic, or whatever it may be that
well, she believed in me. Her and my father both. They said, work hard and you can achieve just about anything that you want. Not that it would be, an easy road, not without any bumps or hurdles, but, figure out where the gaps are and fill those gaps and keep moving forward. Even if you get knocked down, knocked back, stand back up, crawl. My mom has an interesting background as well. She, her first major paying job was she worked in a plant that made pantyhose. And she retired as a budget analyst at the Pentagon.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, about 3. Has it been 3 years? Maybe a year before the pandemic hit.
Wow.
And so, my dad had a very modest upbringing as well, and the military gave my mom a lot of different opportunities, to travel the world. meet new and interesting people. And all the while they were building their skills, gaining education, climbing the military corporate ladder, and providing for us what not only we needed, but what they wanted us to have. My dad took a part-time job as a janitor just so that we could have like an Atari and have a computer in the home and those type of things.
Both, I will say, are definitely hard workers. Definitely
and my mom, she would never let me quit. I remember fall semester at Prairie View, I cried. I called home crying, wanting to come home, wanting to transfer. And she said, "Oh,
wow,
no, ma'am."
It was grueling.
It was too many different shocks at the same time. Engineering was grueling. The culture shock was grueling.
It was totally
the weather was grueling.
Yeah. From Alaska.
Yeah, I didn't know what I had really dropped myself into, and it was a lot of change at once. And I was playing volleyball for the college at the same time, trying to do engineering, and I was just
a lot, because that engineering back then, I'm not sure what the engineering program is now, but back then, like you said, it was one of the top in the country. Everybody knew. It definitely was a proud staple in the Houston metro area, and I know that was grueling within itself, and then being in sports at the same time, and what that acquire, it was a lot.
Yeah. And my
mom,
then,
like you said, the culture changes. It's totally different.
Yeah, I was used to being asked to dance. They didn't do that down here.
Yeah.
So I called home crying, saying I wanted to transfer. My mom said, "You made a commitment. There's no quitters in this family. Figure it out."
Period. Mrs. Boone.
Yeah.
I love it. Because a lot of parents nowadays, now let's keep it real, moguls. Let's have this conversation cocktail. Y'all don't want to sip this one. I know some of y'all, because y'all are spoiling these children, these mini moguls. Now, if you keep spoiling them, they might not be a mogul. They might not be a mini mogul in training. But the first, I don't want to. Okay, baby, you don't have to. Especially now, if they're a smaller child, I kind of get that. But when they've reached a certain age, let's say teenagers, if they've committed to something, you kind of have to stick through it until the end. Now, maybe next year,
you don't do it.
Next semester, you don't do it. But you're not going to just stop in the middle. But a lot of parents nowadays are very lax. They coddle the child as if they were still infants. So that's, parents back then in our day, No.
Well, my children, they're spoiled. But yeah, quitting, we went to Colorado for spring
break. Well,
obviously
not. They still playing golf and doing well.
Yes, they are still playing golf. And we went to Colorado for spring break this last year, and they've always had ski lessons, right? Let's go ski. And my youngest, Annalie, she did not want to ski. And I was like, "Baby, we're going to the mountains. Oh, so what are you afraid of? What are your concerns?" So she really didn't. Go ahead.
No. Talking to your child, what are your concerns? Not just, are you gonna do it, or no, you don't have to do it. Talking and getting your child to be expressive. I think that's why we have some individuals that grow up as an adult and don't know how to express themselves or communicate properly. So that's good that you took the time to ask her what her concerns were.
She really didn't have any, so we went.
She just didn't want to do it.
She just didn't want to do it. So when we got there, we had a free morning, and I'm like, "We're going to the village, and you were going to talk to a golf pro." And she said, "About what?" I said, "Your concerns." And she was like, "I don't have any." "Of course you do. You don't want to do it." She can talk you through it. She was like, she was afraid of falling off the mountain and dying or something extreme. But they teach you how to.
So she did have a concern. She just didn't want to share. She might have thought, sometimes, children think, or even adults will think a question or concern will be silly.
Yeah.
I get that when I'm dealing with clients a lot. Now, this might sound silly, or this I'm like, no question is silly, no concern is silly. It's best to communicate so that I know, so that I can ease your concern, your anxiousness.
Yeah, and so needless to say, her and her sister had a lesson. She went down the mountain more times than she had before. We didn't have to pick her up early, and now she's like, "Mama, you need to go skiing." I'm like, "Mama's old and fat and out of shape. We're gonna focus on you right now."
Girl, please, no, ma'am.
Yeah, that's what she's gonna do.
There's
she's
no
gonna turn around
on skiing, ma'am.
Yeah,
no.
So we're gonna. Do
I love that you guys definitely. But I think you've always been that way. Definitely had that type of relationship where you talk to your children and explain, especially if they are. I know definitely Nicole, inquisitive.
Nicole is my mini-me.
For sure, inquisitive.
Yeah.
And that's always a good thing, because you want you want your child to grow up and to be aware. Like if you just say, do it because I said so, which I will say our parents did used to say that.
Don't do as I do, do as I say,
do as I say, or do as I say. Well, why? Because I said so. It's good that you're raising children that are going to be aware.
Trying to.
Aware of feelings, emotions, concerns, not being afraid to ask or speak their mind, being respectful. Especially with girls. Women, having that self-confidence, and we're going to close out this segment, but when we come back, having that self-confidence is so important, and it starts at home. When we come back, we're going to talk about the woman that inspired you, and I already know, you already said it, as an adult. All right, we'll be right back, guys.
Edge Radio TV is holding auditions for new show hosts. Are you a subject matter expert, professional, influencer, book author, thought leader, or business owner with an educational or motivational platform? Then we want to meet you. Send a link of some of your work to edgeradio20@gmail.com and be sure to put audition in the subject line. Join the Edge Radio TV family. Edge TV, because truth still matters.
Aren't you tired of not getting what you want in bed?
Are you ready to spice things up behind those closed doors?
Woo! We're here for you every hump day at 7 p.m.
This is Sex on the Edge with Jen and Hen. I'm Jennifer Reeves.
And I'm Hendrik Scott, and we are professional licensed sex therapists.
So remember to watch us Wednesday at 7 p.m. on Edge Radio TV, just in time for sexy time.
All right, Mogul, so we are back, and we're going to talk about adulthood. What woman inspired you and, I guess, impressed upon you in whatever way it may be, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, as an adult?
Your mommy, Norma Jean Mitchell. I started dating your brother, and then, he would take me to the airport for Christmas and pick me up when I would go home. And then I would come and visit him when he graduated. And, Sean had such a strong spiritual relationship with God and strong faith. And he talked to me about that. And, he said that, to start it with his mom. I mean, your dad was too, but I think your mom was more of a pillar because of the health issues that she had to overcome. And it was her faith that really took her through that. And so my
dad was the one that, made us do Bible study every Saturday morning, had us do that. But my mom, of course, women are more, you're going to do this, you're going to read this, you're going to do this, you're going to vacation Bible school. My dad was at the church, but my mom was the one that would bring us after my dad set up everything. So that's what the role she played, I guess.
And stressing out about school. And I started having conversations with her. I would go shopping, whether for clothes or for food. I would help her cook in the kitchen. We'd watch cooking shows together, which I still do to this day with my daughter.
One of the best cooks, Lord Jesus. And cooks every day.
Yeah, and cooked all kinds of stuff. And everything was excellent. And so I asked her, I was like, how can I not be so stressed out? And she
let's touch on that. Because in the African American community, now it's more open, but it was taboo to talk about. You didn't talk about anxiety in the 90s, or depression, or anxiousness, or all these emotions that we've all dealt with one or the other at some point. Now, I don't know anybody that's never been anxious. If you haven't been depressed, you've had some type of anxiety for some reason, even for a moment. So, and in college, a lot of young adults, I feel like, especially like with me, I've always worked. That's why I never pledged. People always say, why didn't you pledge? Why didn't you do AKA your mother, your aunt, your this and that? Because I was working. That's why.
Yeah, you
I didn't have a grant or this.
3 different jobs.
Yeah, I always was a little Jamaican in college. So I didn't go, and I hate that now. I didn't get to party like I want to. I'm like, oh, I wish I could go back and really enjoy my college years more so. But I've always worked. So when you either working or you have a grueling major and doing sports like you were, you have that stress, that anxiety. So it's good that you had an outlet, and I'm sure you're going to talk about church being one of those.
Yeah, definitely. So she said, when you've got King Jesus, you're too blessed to be stressed. And I was like, well, what does that mean? My parents went to church. They're Christians. They believe that in Jesus being the only way to heaven. But they didn't really talk to me about how to get a relationship with God, or how to pray even, or when to pray. And so she and I started having those conversations. She gave me a Bible, the Student Application Bible, which put it in layman's terms, because
so
I didn't like the King. I didn't like the King James version because I got all caught up in the words and not the message. Right. And it was because
you had to go back and get what does this word mean?
And the Student Application Bible had some explanations and had some, scenarios written in there. And so I started reading that, and it was because of her and your brother that I eventually got baptized like that next summer at church, and started me on the journey of building a relationship with God. And so that has really fortified me through. But it's like school, right? I wasn't the person that could just go to class and get it. I had to go to class. I had to do the homework. I had to go to study group. I had to get the old test. And that's been my relationship with God. I have to read. I have to pray. And,
which is what we all should be doing. I didn't start really reading the word thoroughly outside of church, meaning going on Sunday or maybe Wednesday or whatever, until about, I'm going to say maybe 4 years ago, 5 years ago. Now, mind you, we were just, we had to go to church 5 days a week. Literally growing up. Like, you were in church every single day. It seemed like God.
Your brother told me those stories.
God, every single day. And even in the summer, because you either went to vacation Bible school for a month. Then after that, whatever other activities you're in the choir. So you had to go to choir rehearsal. You had to go to Bible study. You had to go to church on Sunday. But as an adult, because we were forced to read like on Saturdays and stuff, I kind of just strayed from that outside of church. Of course, you went to church, read your Bible then, but I wasn't picking up the word every morning, picking up the word every day, really being thorough about prayer. Like about 5 years ago. And I was like, you know what? If I have time to watch my TV shows and see what's going on in celebrity news or news itself, world news, politics, whatever was going on, I was like, why can't I pick up the word every day or try to read, or be more mindful of my praying every day if I truly have God first in my life. And I think a lot of us Christians, now whatever your belief is, that's who you pray to or whatever you do. But being more mindful and more intentional, because we definitely are intentional when we want something. You pray on your knees, falling out, crying, salivate. You very intentional when you falling out, when either you want something or something bad happens. That's when we want to go to them.
Yeah.
But what about just having a true relationship? And so that's good that you have that, because I know when we go to the next segment, I guess we're going to discuss that more about, and we'll start during this segment about your career path and starting at PV as an engineer major. Now, you always wanted to be an engineer.
Well, so I had the luxury. Yeah, no, I wanted to have a good quality of life with 1 degree, and I knew I liked math. And so
was it high school that you
in high school? Yeah, they let us do career shadowing, and I was thinking about being an accountant or being an engineer, and so they let me shadow both. And no offense to any accountants, it might have just been the way he did his business, but he sat in his office, talked on the phone, did some computer work. I was about to sleep in the first hour and a half.
Yeah.
But the engineer they paired me with, she was an environmental engineer, but she set up my day to where I spent time with an electrical engineer, a mechanical engineer, an architect. And with
That's
her,
good, so you could kind of get a feel for each type.
And the mechanical engineer was just down to earth, laid back. The electrical engineer pulled out this graphing calculator and started doing, derivatives and, all this kind of complicated math. And I was like, yeah, I don't want to be you either. I don't. You're too intense. The mechanical engineer was so junior year I decided I'm going to be an engineer. First in my family.
And you knew that you wanted to be a mechanical engineer.
And I knew I wanted to be a mechanical engineer.
Okay. So what drew you to Prairie View is that, of course, it was one of the top schools. Now, how many schools did you visit?
I didn't visit any of them.
Or did you have in mind if you didn't visit?
We didn't. We lived too far away for the college tour thing. Like even Prairie View,
I did. You were in Alaska.
Yeah, so we didn't visit any of them. So I looked at schools that had great engineering programs. So
what were some of those other schools?
One in Washington State, North Carolina A&T, because my brother was a graduate from there. Old Dominion University, because I went to basketball camp there. UNC, University of North Carolina, Tar Heels, just because we have family there. And did I apply to Duke? I'm not sure. And then some other small schools that had reached out to me. So I probably applied to 10 to 15 different schools. Okay. And the only drawback for Prairie View was that we didn't have any family in Texas. Yeah. All of our family was in North Carolina and Virginia. And since my dad was in the military and other family members in the military and merchant Marines, they just went. And I just thought that's how life was. So I went. And
so this was definitely a huge change. Like a huge leap.
Yeah. Well, I didn't think so until I got here, right? And realized that a lot of people don't take those type of leaps. They don't go 3,000 miles away from home just because it was a good opportunity.
And especially then. Now kids go out over country, especially African American children. Now they'll go overseas easily. But back in the 80s and the 90s, you didn't. Yeah, like you said, you really didn't. Unless I will say this, because I know several people. Unless you were very major specific, like pre-med or what you did, engineering, you did kind of seek out whatever was going to be the best school for you to go to. So that's good that you went ahead and took that leap. So what was it like when you arrived to the South from Alaska of all places? Oh, I know you were like,
yeah, I was just in awe, right? I was in awe just about everything and how hot it actually is, what humidity actually meant. Yeah, because Alaska's really dry.
Well, you were coming from the totally extreme, though.
Yeah, it was hot.
So you were total extreme and polar opposite.
Yeah, and the people were fairly nice. I sounded different. I looked the same, but I sounded different. Different perspectives, which I thought as we're going to an institution of higher learning, but
they're going to be whatever region you're in.
Yeah. And so it just took a lot of adjustments, right? Getting used to the classes versus volleyball practice and when I could do the work, when the computers were available, because that was another handicap, was that we had assignments that we had to do in certain softwares, and you could only do it in the engineering building in the computer lab, and most of the time only 2 or 3 computers were working at a time. And so you basically had to hang out there. But eventually my volleyball...
Which is the issues with some HBCUs, the financing, and that's a whole different show. So when we come back, we're going to close out this segment. When we come back, we'll delve more into you graduating and going into your career and what's that been like. The different challenges, triumphs, gaining relationships, obtaining mentors, the formula that you've tried to use and the plan of action you've tried to set forth to ensure that, your goals are achieved, that you've been climbing that corporate ladder. So we're going to touch on that when we come back, guys. Just a few.
Are you a small business owner concerned about the downturn in the economy? Top business leaders like Mattress Mac and Warren Buffett will tell you that now is the time to promote your business more than ever. People need your services. Your business needs an edge. Learn about special advertising packages for small businesses right here on Edge Radio. Find out more, give us a call at 281-744-0446. That's 281-744-0446. Edge, because truth still matters. The Natural Nation Network is really about taking control of your health physically, spiritually, emotionally, even intellectually, because there's so much out there in misinformation. There's a lot of people now that are suffering from all sorts of diseases that they really wouldn't have to suffer for if they had better information. And that's what we're here to do. Provide information that can save lives.
The mind and the body are totally connected.
Health can be really serious, and sometimes we just have to lighten it up a little bit while we're still providing substantive information. And my sort of mantra on the salsa dance floor is kind of similar. I tell somebody, if you make a mistake twice, it becomes a move. Okay?
Tune into Natural Nation every Tuesday at 11 a.m.
All right, Mogul, so we're back. So we're going to talk and delve into, and for you guys that just tuned in, this is my sister-in-law, the amazing mechanical engineer, project manager. And so, how many years have you been in the industry now?
20.
That's so crazy.
December just made 20. Old. Yeah, just made 20 in December. Yeah.
We're kind of telling our age.
Yeah, no.
We are telling our age. But so let's talk about graduating with your engineering degree. Now you're off into the workplace. You're off into this huge industry that is solely Caucasian male. So what has that journey been like? Let's start from the beginning. What being green, having a green thumb.
Yeah,
not getting into it.
Not knowing what you don't know and not knowing to ask. So I started working at Equilon Pipeline, which turned into Shell Pipeline, in January 2001. I did have a great benefit in that they let me pick which department I wanted to work for, and my boss was an African American male from Louisiana.
Wow,
Lee Borda, and we built such a great relationship. Him and his wife came to my wedding.
Wow.
And so they positioned me to where I could see his office, so I knew when he had a few minutes free, and I would talk with his OA.
Was he one that was more nurturing and kind of had those important conversations with you?
Well, yes, he did. When he was a manager of probably 20 people, so it wasn't like it was all about me, but I could go and ask him different questions, and he really did guide me and protect me.
Key phrase: ask questions. Ask questions. Don't sit back and expect for all these great opportunities to fall into your lap just because you have this great engineering degree. Oh, I'm an engineer now. I'm in the workplace. Everything's going to fall into my lap, and everything's going to go as accordingly as I haven't dreamt in my mind. Or you know,
you definitely have to own your own career. And networking was a big buzzword then, and it probably still is now, but now I know how to do it. Before I was like, what do they mean by networking? I'm going to go to this function and I'm going to, I don't know anybody. I'm going to have to go and introduce myself. It's going to be awkward. But networking can be on a smaller scale as well.
More intimate.
Yeah. And so I love the idea of being a mentor, having a mentor. And they say, and this is what has guided me to this day, is that when you see somebody that you like some of their attributes or that impresses you, or you would like to be where they are one day, reach out to them. Put some time on their calendar, 30 minutes, 45 minutes. Most people are pretty open. You might have to go through their office assistant.
You may even get a mentor out of it. And if not, at least you can have those, like you said, conversations.
Not everyone is going to turn into a mentor because you're not going to mix well with everybody.
Or they're already at capacity. You know, people can only do so much, you know. So.
And you can ask them, you know, some workplaces have formal mentoring relationships where they talk to your boss and all that kind of stuff to make sure that you're getting what you need. Or you can do an informal mentoring relationship where you meet with them. Some people I meet with quarterly. And they say, you know, how are things going? Where can I help? And I ask them, you know, how can I get this done? That type of thing. And it doesn't go back to my boss, but I still get to garner a lot of knowledge from them.
So after Lee, leaving that company, where did that lead you?
I had a horrible trifecta at that time. Well, a positive part, me and Sean got married. Your mother passed away, and then I had my first child, and I got laid off before I had that child.
Yes, it was crazy times.
Yes. So we took my severance that I got from Shell, and we moved to Atlanta. Sean was teaching and coaching, and I found a small company to work for because I thought, you know, that was going to be a better situation for me working for a small company, still doing project management, but not in oil and gas. And it was not the opportunity that I thought it was going to be. Atlanta was great, but we knew that we wanted to come back to Texas. Yeah. So then a headhunter reached out to me for an old resume I had posted on monster.com. So never delete any of those things because it was like 2 years old. The resume
that something
he found, and the number was at your dad's house at 2295 Basin Street.
Isn't that crazy?
And he called my father-in-law, called all these different people to finally get to me. I ended up interviewing at Kinder Morgan, and there were 3 people that I had worked with at Shell Pipeline that worked at Kinder Morgan.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. And so they were like, if you want to come back, we can help you. We will. And they were my mentors as well and guided me. Alan Rhodes.
Having those, and that's what we talk about so much on the show, guys. Cultivating relationships. It's sometimes that can get you further than what you feel like your skill set is. Sometimes you think you're just all that in a bag of chips, but your attitude or your personality or your work ethic is lackluster. And even just caring to have relationships, to be a part of a team, it's just extremely important. So
Alan Rhodes had went to our wedding as well. I worked with him at Shell. He was my mentor when I got to Kinder Morgan because I'd never built tanks before. It was a terminals job, and so him and a couple other people from Shell really helped shepherd me. And I got an opportunity to pay it back or pay it forward to him because I signed up for an adopt an intern program at Chevron, and I got his daughter. Almost 20 years later.
Life can be so full circle.
Yeah.
I bet he was just shocked too.
Yes, we were all shocked. We were all shocked.
God.
We met, and I'm like, you know, your last name is a little unique. Do you know this person? She's like, oh, that's my dad. And we had the best summer.
So you talked to him. Oh my God.
I emailed him. I said, I got your daughter. She was like, yeah, she loves you. And she ended up getting a job at Chevron. So back to Kinder Morgan, they helped me. And then I got pregnant with Anna. I was driving from Beaumont to Houston every day for Kinder Morgan, and that was pretty exhausting. And then I went to work at...
You did that for some years.
Yeah.
Okay, this is the conversation cocktail right here. I need y'all to take a gulp, not a sip. Okay? Because you moguls, y'all already know I can't stand a lazy person. I cannot stand a person with excuses. Now, I'm pregnant now. But my butt is still driving around, climbing these stairs in these homes. And a lot of times you guys will see me on Instagram. I'm at either 3-level or 4-level properties. Having to walk up and down. I don't want to hear it. If you can be pregnant, and you did it for a few years.
2 years.
She literally drove from Beaumont to Houston every day to provide for herself and her family.
5 days a week.
And you weren't?
No flex.
You didn't have a job where you would just,
No, I had to climb tanks too.
So, come on. No excuses, guys. It's 2021. You had 2020 during COVID to plan. Now let's start implementing and let's start doing some stuff. Because if you keep making excuses, it's just not something that you really want to do. It can't be your true passion. So stop telling your family members and your friends that this is what you want to do.
I really like what I do. Project management is such a variety. It's similar skills that you need to apply to solve the problem, but it's always different problems. Whether what you need to build, where you need to build it, how quickly you need to build it, who you need to work with.
The components.
The components are just intriguing to me.
So after Kinder Morgan,
I went to Sunoco Logistics in Nederland, Texas, where I met a mentor. Again, she was the only African-American female on the leadership team, and she had 3 departments: security, the lab, and something else. I can't remember what the third one was, but she had 3 departments. And she just wrecked shop. When she spoke, everybody just shut up and listened and did whatever she told them to.
I love it. I was
like, we're having lunch.
Yes, you are.
I like how you command this room.
You must be a mentor.
We're having lunch, and I still talk to her to this day. She's like spiritual mother. We talked about God and relationships, raising children, making decisions. I tell people stories or testimonies or thoughts that she's giving me on a monthly basis. And so my Chevron went through enterprise reorg, and my new boss's name is Ellen. It's her name too. I said, hey, my new boss's name is Ellen.
Wow, that's amazing.
But I text her every so often. I haven't worked at Kinder Morgan. We've been here 10 years.
And at
Sunoco Logistics, we've been here 10 years.
So you've been at
Chevron 10 years.
10 years.
May.
Oh my God.
May will make 10 years.
That's crazy.
May will make 10 years.
That is crazy. And it's interesting because being fulfilled in a career, so many different components.
It's not just about the money.
Dynamic. Yes, a lot of times we'll get, and I get this a lot. Oh God, if I get one more DM, I've been thinking about getting into real estate. I heard you can make a lot of money. What do you don't need to get into it?
Well, I mean,
and that's what I tell them, because y'all know how I am. I'm gonna speak.
Money is important. You have to.
You don't need to get into it. No. I'm not gonna mentor you if you don't want to. If you didn't say, I love architecture. I love meeting people, working with people. I love viewing homes and seeing the beauty.
Homes are gorgeous.
I'm not interested, because I don't want to mentor someone who's going to put money before their client. And if that's your main motivation for getting into an industry and there's no passion for anything else about it, then you're not going to have the client or the other individual best interest at heart. And then you'll make decisions for them with them being blind, because you can really guide someone, especially in real estate, blindly, just so that you can make a bigger buck, or you can do a deal with this specific agent, or whatever the case may be. To me, I just,
and you might not have the stick-to-itiveness, right? If once things start going south, you might bail in 2 seconds instead of sticking with it.
Unless you have a unique situation. I will say I was able to partner with a top realtor, but I did have my time where I was like, okay, you got to network and try to meet clients, but you're definitely not going to stick. You're not going to stick with something if you're getting into it for just money, whatever industry that's in, because you go through certain
where the money is
hard
stagnant,
times,
if at all, like you don't like going through the reorgs,
and just having those like you said, being laid off, or there's just so many things, struggling for maybe a year or two, you not
liking your assignment for a year or two, but then knowing that there's another one coming.
Exactly. But if you have a true passion for it, you'll stick with it. So your transition to Chevron, what was that like coming from?
Chevron is one of the best companies I've ever worked for,
awesome.
As far as culture goes and benefits and all that kind of stuff.
Awesome.
And so there's been a lot more good times than bad, and I've met a lot of really awesome people, and I've had most of my projects have gone extremely well. And
so share one of those. I'm always enamored and in awe about some of your projects, your drone. So you have to. So she has to travel internationally, and at one point you were traveling quite a bit until I know when COVID hit, that kind of stopped a lot of that.
So the international travel came from Empire Reconfiguration project where we were redoing the dock, and some of the equipment, very expensive equipment we had bought was we bought from a manufacturer in France. So I had to go to the factory acceptance test in France. It wasn't Paris, but it was still France. And then for the gangway, we had to go to Amsterdam for that. And then I
remember my brother, he did a little bit of smoking there.
He was supposed to. We tried to set it up to where he could come with me on some of these things, but they rescheduled the testing for the gangway.
So let's, Dev, I'm going to cut you off. When we come back for the last segment, let's go into that and then share some more experiences you've had.
Yeah.
All right, we'll be right back.
Don't push me because I'm close to the edge.
I'm trying not to lose my head.
Hey, this is the Talk About Unity show where I bring the talk.
And I bring the unity.
And together we talk about unity. Unity is what matters.
Come on.
And right now in our country, that's what we've got to do. So we do that here at Talk About Unity on the Edge Radio Network. Be with us every week.
It's going to be awesome. It always is. And I tell you what, the more we seek first to understand, then be understood, we make progress.
And we like to do that. And that's why everybody's on the brink. We love what we do at Edge Radio because everybody's on the edge. We bring them back from the edge and we bring the unity. So we're just glad to Edge Radio Network every Tuesday morning, 10 a.m. Talk About Unity because here at Edge Radio Network, truth still matters.
All right, Mogul, so we're having an engineering cocktail right now. And so I wanted you to share the craziest experience, the most challenging or, the one that made you terrifying, made you most anxious that you've had to do for a specific position in your industry, oil and gas industry.
Yeah, so after I finished my first solo project at Chevron, I think it was 2013, I raised my hand to do an offshore pipeline design and installation because I'd never done anything offshore. Needless to say, I didn't know that there was a Hewitt class required, helicopter underwater survival training. I can't remember what Hewitt stands for, but it's basically if the helicopter goes down, you know how to save yourself. And I was like, oh, okay. And so I started talking to people about it, and it's in a heated pool.
You realize what
it was? A fuselage, a helicopter fuselage. And of course I was the only female in there, and you're supposed to, I had on a bathing suit and then, you know, yoga pants because I was the only female, and then you had to put on your FRCs on top of it, and you go sit in this fuselage of a helicopter. I mean, they do a day of education about, you know, if you go down in the Gulf of Mexico, the longest you'll be stranded in the water is 45 minutes because they're so heavily populated with ships and offshore platforms and things of that nature. But basically they put you in this fuselage with, I think, 4 to 6 other people, 2 instructors. You have on a helmet, and they take the fuselage and they dunk it in a pool. And the worst part is they dunk it in the pool, they rotate it, the windows are in, and then you have to sit still until it stops rotating, bust the window out.
You lost me at bust the window out.
And then you
can't.
eat. For one exercise, you swim out the window closest to you, but another exercise, you have to swim out diagonally the opposite side. And the way I was taught to swim was with my eyes open. And so depending on the type of seatbelt that you have, and you have to do this exercise with both types of seatbelt. If it's a lap belt, you bend over at the waist and hold on to the seat as the helicopter is crashing. If it is a harness, then you get to sit like this. But at the same time, I'm watching the water rise to see when I need to hold my breath so that I have enough air for it to completely finish dunking and then turning and then getting out. I never did wait until the fuselage stopped turning. They said, Miss Mitchell, you're moving too fast. It's still moving. I said, it's an emergency situation, right? Get out as fast as you can. But it was just, the
human nature is like, I gotta get out.
I mean, they're telling you about, you know, how many helicopters go down, crash, all that kind of stuff, and you know, most of the time information is power, but in this instance it was terrifying for me. So when and
I'm sure it felt like at some points, like I said, you know, you're watching a horror movie, you know it's fake because they're actors and actresses, but you still have those same emotions. I'm sure the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, I knew I wasn't gonna die. I had on a red helmet. If you didn't know how to swim, or if you're particularly nervous, you could ask for a red helmet, and so that the instructors would pay extra special attention to you. And then when I couldn't open the window because I lost my anchoring, and they took me out the back of the fuselage, I was swimming. They were like, Miss Mitchell, you can swim. Why do you have a red helmet? I'm like, because this is precious cargo. I have 4 other people at home. Wait, I need you to pay extra special attention.
You literally can freak out and start drinking water. You just don't know what.
Because they tell you don't have to know how to swim, but the second time I had to do it, because I had to do it for a cold water session, there was a guy in there, and he didn't know how to swim, and he started freaking out. We have on life vests, and he was just grabbing on to whoever, and he tried to grab onto me, and I was like, no, my brother, you're not taking me down.
No.
And so the instructors had to calm him down and, you know, get him. But I mean,
so that's crazy. A lot of us would be like, no, I don't.
They teach you how to jump off the platform and not break bones in the event that you have to just jump off. You can't get in the survival because Brightwater Horizon, or is it Brightwater Horizon or Bright Horizon? The one in the Gulf of Mexico, they said a lot of people that saved themselves, they had a lot of broken bones in the hips and stuff. So they teach you how to jump off the platform, put out fires, find your way if it's smoky and dark. I mean, you need to know these things, right? It's just the context under which your helicopter
it's not made for
crash
everybody.
And your platform is exploding and on fire.
It's not made. I couldn't have done it. I told her back then. I was just like, how did you do that? So what's one of your most exhilarating experiences with being in the oil and gas industry?
I have 2. One is a decommissioning project off of in Louisiana near Morgan City. It was kind of on an island, and it had been out of service since the 80s, and we didn't have drawings, or not a complete set of drawings, and we didn't have a lot of faith in those drawings. And so we ended up
challenging them.
Yeah, so we ended up somehow with our vendor. I don't even know how we figured this out, but we found a drone or UAS company that could fly. That must be me. That could fly the facility and generate 3D model of the facility. And so they could get close enough to get the nameplate of the equipment. So then our contractor went back and found out what the dimensions, what the dimensions and weight of each of the large pieces of equipment were, so that we could properly develop a decommissioning plan with the right equipment that was sized. Right, awesome. And so that's like kind of like reverse engineering. We flew the drones. We got
like
3D
a puzzle,
models.
Trying to put a puzzle
we got
together.
a 3D model that gave us 2D drawings, and so we were able to do a lump sum contract and not T&M because we had all the right components of information, and we got that project down to concrete slabs in record time.
Wow.
The contractor was awesome. The project team was awesome. We didn't end up spending a lot of money with the Army Corps for dredging. That was really awesome. The other one was Chevron used to do like Shark Tank
so this is
episodes. They used to do where you get to present your idea and they decide whether or not they fund it. And so I had an idea for a digital estimating
and how
tool.
many people were?
Yeah, so I think so I got fully funded. It was 10 of us out of probably 2,000 to 6,000 entries, I think.
Now look, I know I brag about my sister-in-law, my sister being intelligent, but when you're going up against thousands of entries, and you're one of the 10 in the world,
it was
that
a global
is chosen.
Yeah, it was a
global. I mean, that speaks volumes.
Yeah, I was super excited, and I initially asked for $350,000 to develop the tool. They gave me $650,000.
Wow.
And so now we're trying to figure out how to operationalize it for the enterprise, because it was built just for pipeline, which was my business unit.
When you told me that story, I was just like, oh my God.
And that team is awesome.
I was so proud of you. That was just
still keep in contact together. And I do not do
IT. And didn't you say somebody was in either Russia or?
Yeah, so we had 3 people in Indonesia. We had a guy in Argentina. We had 3 people, I think, in California. And then we were scattered downtown Houston, like 6 of us. And there was, I can't remember, there was another time zone. So we were working against 3 or 4
Wasn't
different.
It a
Russian guy? No, not this one. But I did.
Eastern, somebody was.
Yeah. I can't remember.
Maybe was it Eastern European?
Yeah,
that you were working with.
Yeah, and so you're talking about Andrew. He's either Scottish or Irish.
Okay,
but he was here in Houston too. But yeah, that team, because we all just collectively came together and decided we were going to make this a success. Egos aside, pride aside, general ideas aside, and I didn't know anything about IT, and so I was pretty open to suggestions.
Exactly,
and it came out better than I could ever.
Let's take a sip. Conversations. Cocktails. Some of us are outside of our lane. Know what you can and cannot do. Let somebody else do their part. Let them put their piece of the puzzle in the puzzle. Mm-hmm. That's very important, being able to be a team player.
I'm like,
putting your ego aside.
Whatever you say, I agree with. Does it get me this? I knew what I wanted to do. Does it get me this? Great.
Exactly. So what do you feel like as a woman? How do you feel like looking back? Because you're inspiring, the women that are tuning in. This is to National Women's History Month. You growing from graduating with your engineering degree to where you've come to now. Mm-hmm. What's a thought that comes to mind when you sit and think about where how far you've come?
Better than I could have imagined. I mean, I pieced together what I wanted my life to be from movies and books. What's the one with I can't think of the name. Diane Keaton, Baby Boom. No. And Secret of My Success. Those are just piecing it together, and then knowing ultimately, okay, that didn't work out. Okay, let's see about this thing and keep trying, right?
And your family, and we'll end with family, balancing career with family, and then you have one autistic child. Mm-hmm. The eldest child is doing his own thing. One autistic child still at home, and the 2 girls who you have in golf. Of course, they're not. Here we go again. A female minority in sports, to where it is what it is. So balancing your husband, my brother had to have a heart transplant actually.
Yeah, 4 years
ago. Yeah,
4 years.
And balancing all of that, what would you provide the Moguls has been your motivation to keep going, keeping you solace?
Yeah, my faith in God, and knowing what you want the end goal to be, and sticking with the data. So my dad asked me, he was like, well, honey, you haven't talked a lot about what if Sean doesn't pull through? Do you have a plan? Do you have an idea? I said, Dad, actually, I do not, because that's not my focus. My focus is that he's going to get well.
Exactly.
But I do know I have life insurance, and I will probably have to take some time off from work and stay with you and Mom to help me with the kids so I can figure out what the next steps are. But my focus on a daily basis was, what information do I need to know to help him get well? I mean, the doctors and nurses thought I was in the medical field because I was like researching stuff and asking them questions, and they would tell me, I'm like, no, I need to see the chart.
And we'll bring her back because that's a whole nother show we have to talk about.
And so just that, and then trying to keep things as normal as possible for my kids. Like, they still went to Girl Scouts, and it just so happened that at that time I didn't have a job where I had to travel. I had to go to JFK Boulevard from Sugar Land, which was far, and my niece came to help me with the kids while he was in the hospital, and having some humility, because me and my sister weren't on the best of terms.
Humility, humbling.
Yeah, to ask her if she would mind sending her daughter. She was 19. And so I had to suck it up and ask for that help. And that whole thing with him taught me about allowing help to come. The neighbor across the street wanted to come and help me just do some random things around the house, clean up. And I was like, I don't know. My friend Aisha was like,
if you're used to working things out. I want to end with this. I will say you are, and will remain to be, one of my inspirations. So proud of you. Always brag about you and what you've accomplished. First mother and wife, but then in your industry, being such a trailblazer. It's really amazing. I'm definitely going to have you back on the show to talk about the balancing of life. But I just pray that you guys, you and my brother, the girls, the boys, are just blessed with so much abundance in 2021. But that's always my prayer for you guys every year. That's nothing new. But thank you.
Thank you for
having me. Thank you for coming on, and I love you.
Love you.
You already know that.
Yep.
All right, moguls. So I hope you enjoyed this show.
Thanks for having me.
This is my last women's history show. So sending you guys love. Please be kind and be safe. All right, until next time.
Bye, everybody.